Hey, welcome. Glad you decided to stop in. I wanted to do this because, well, we're doing the designer diary for the Slaughterville this week, and I wanted to show you how I come up with or create characters for this game. Now we have about 72, not counting the you know 8 or so that we're gonna have in this one. Again, depends on stretch goals and everything else. But so yeah, here's the process. I do it right in InDesign. If you've never had a chance to use it, it does take a little bit of getting used to, but overall, I like it. It helps me out a lot. So, the first thing I do for all of the games is I come up with the standard stereotypical archetypes for the genre. Now, again, after 72 of these different characters, it is getting challenging, I'll say, finding some. So I'll look other places for inspiration. So for this one, I picked the Action Star. Now, the Action Star is meant to represent the character in there that's always thinking they're Big Billy, well, strong guy, if you want to try to keep this family friendly. And what I'll do is I'll make an entire list, like I've made this entire set of characters here, figure out all the different archetypes I want, and as you can see, I'll put in the pictures, but we'll get into that in a moment. I just finished up the Trickster. That was a tough one. We should have recorded that one. That one was tough. But the Action Star, I'll start with going out and grabbing just a metric ton of images, right? And do I know if I'm going to use them? Absolutely not. I have no idea. That's why it's in my unused images folder, because I haven't used them yet. But I'll go to places like Pexels or Adobe Stock, and I'll just grab a ton. Now, when I come to something like this right here, it said digital painting. I like the picture. I want to use it, but to me, it doesn't look like a digital painting. I mean, it does, but I mean, it looks too closer to AI, and I know that they're not going to use it. Same thing with this. Tell me this doesn't look like a Slaughterville street and the Plague Doctor, right? But it looks too much like AI, and I know the game crafter does not approve of it. So I have to take those and delete them. Now, there's other images we've grabbed that are obviously not. Like this one here is a really neat digital painting that I'm going to use that one. Or this one here. Like, see, this one here is again, they're labeled as paintings. And I'm definitely going to be using that one. But I'll get pictures of all kinds of things, just things that draw my attention, or something that I think would fit in a current theme that I'm looking for, like this one. When am I going to use this? I don't know. I honestly don't, but I thought it looked really cool, and I wanted to keep a hold of it. But for this one, let me go into my characters folder. Right there, you see? Then we have, I call it links, but it's just where I put all my pictures. And I will take the picture that I'm going to use for the Action Star. Now, I already know which one I wanted to use, but I could search through everything and find something. But yeah, I already know which one I wanted to use for it, because as soon as I saw it, that's the Action Star. And you probably already know who we're talking about here. Totally not Seagal. And that's the thing. The Action Star. And then I'll name it because, well, I like to be organized. I don't judge you if you're not, but it would drive me absolutely insane. And then I'll come in here, I'll find the correct layer that has the picture, hit the old Control D, grab the Action Star, right click on it, fitting, and then I'll start with Content Aware. And I do that just to see how the picture sits in the box, but you can see there's a lot of space left over. Plus, I don't think I want this in there. And it's very, very subjective. I will just pick and choose it until I'm happy with it. Might go a little bigger. And if I have to leave that in, I will. But Maybe we'll just leave that part in there for a little bit, but we'll keep that picture there. So that's the action star. That's the picture part done. So the next thing I do with every character, I don't care if it's a promo character, I don't care if it's one in one of the standard sets. I have a number, and please, dear God, if you're ever deciding to design games, I mean, do it. It's fun. I like it. I've been doing it for almost 20 years. But you have to be, how do I want to say this? Consistent. You have to set boundaries for yourself. Otherwise, you're going to lose sight of the balance that every game is going to need. Now, for not just the action star, but for every character, I have a set number for this section right here for all the stats. And that number is 16. I've never deviated from that number, and I never will. Because that means that everything in here will balance to that 16. So then I take a look at this and I say, okay, what is Steven Seagal? What is he? He's an overweight action star, so he's not running so much. If you've ever seen Steven Seagal run, it's hilarious. So he doesn't run. Now, what's his perception like? I'm not going to say he's very perceptive, or else he wouldn't keep making the same movie 5,700 times. So we're gonna lower that. However, he's got a lot of nerve. And he thinks he can fight, but, I mean, be real. So, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So we have 3 points here. We can say he has 8 health because he's fluffy. Or we can give him another bit to the attacks, because he'll punch. You know what? Let's do that. Take that down to 7. Pump this up to 3, because he is always punching on his what do they call them? Not the co-stars, the stuntmen. So that's his thing. All right, and I know these are named, but we're going to change all the names. So let's see. What are the action stars' core attributes? Not the attributes. What makes them them? You know, I gotta have in there something about cookies or snatching a birthday. We got to do something fun like that, because that's what we do, right? We make this so that it's that callback. It's that thing that's going to make you go, I know what that is. So yeah, let's see. Chair fighting? No, we don't have anything that would do that. I'm going to take out this top ability at first, because I don't know that he needs it. And we'll make his first ability. Let's see. What do we want to make for his? What are some... See, and that's what I'll do, is I'll come out here then, and I will look up... yeah, I like watching the Y-files and stuff while I work. But I'll come out here and I'll look up Steven Seagal catchphrases. Again, only because that's who... Oh my god, you got to do the funniest. That's who I had in mind for this. And again, if it isn't blatantly obvious, well then, no, I'm not disabling ads. I don't like you that much. I never miss. No. Oh my god. Well, that'd be a good one. Marked for death. What could we do marked for death for? Put clues on the villain, and the next time he attacks the villain, it does extra damage for each clue. That's a good one. That's one we could do. Above the Law doesn't really work here. Of course, it didn't really work as a movie, but that's a different story. I really want snatching birthdays. I don't know why, but I do. Anybody seen Richie? Yeah, I know, right? That's hilarious. Under Siege. Under Siege might work as an ability for him. That might work as a good name. Out for... No, I think we did that. On Deadly Ground. See, I thought about On Deadly Ground being one where he damages the location in order to either heal himself or... Because that would also work with the I love the F out of cookies. But On Deadly Ground might be something good for that. Let's see. Fire Down Below. No, that's his exploits that we don't talk about. Exit Wounds would be a nice one. But yeah, so let's do that. Let's do, for the first one, let's see, what did we decide for the first one? Marked for death, I like that. And then on deadly ground for the second. All right, cool. Now that we have our thing. So we go marked for death. And then I name it on deadly ground. So again, if it's not painfully obvious who it's supposed to be. Just for those. And this we're going to get to in a minute, because with Slaughterville 2, I started adding multiple abilities. So that give you some variety, some more capabilities. So the first one, I don't want to say always, but almost always, costs only 1 clue. And then the other one is a, multi-clue cost. 2, 3, 4, however much we decide it's going to be. But I don't make that decision until after we make up with the ability. So this one is just going to be real simple. Let me grab this. Copy. Place a clue on the... Whoops. I could spell today, right? Place a clue on the villain. The next time the villain suffers damage, and again, we keep with the icons. They suffer +1 damage for each See, I would call it mark, but we didn't call it mark there, and then some people will be confused. For each clue, then discard all clues on the villain. There we go. See how it's all jumbled up in there? Me too. Don't worry about it. This happens every time. And then I'll just fix it as we go. Or at the end. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, on deadly ground. See, this one I really like because it implies that there's something with the location. So what can we do for the location that will fit with this theme? So the deadly ground logically could imply that it's dangerous to go there, right? In fact, I don't think I've seen that movie since it came out on VHS. On deadly ground. I don't even remember what the heck it's about. I should look up Space Ice if I want to know what it's really about. But a blowout firefighter takes on an environmentally destructive oil company by causing many deaths and explosions in Alaska. So yes, he literally just blows stuff up and just kills things. Okay, that's easy. Came out in 94. Wow. Directed by Seagal. Shocker. Okay. So let's come back into here. So on deadly ground is going to be something with destroying the location parts in order to deal damage. In order to... Yeah. Okay. Oh, you know what would be even cooler? See, this is how this works. You know what would be even cooler? If on deadly ground says you destroy the top card of the location, right? But depending on what it was... That's how, that's what the effect is going to be. I think that can, you know what? We'll put this down. No, I'm going to leave that alone for now. Okay, so we're going to take all of this junk out of here. Which means, again, you'll see in a second, but yeah, I end up having to do a lot of edits, changes. So we'll put you, hit enter. Come out here, because we have, what types of cards do we have in locations? Well, we have items, we have enemies, we have events. So I'm just going to use the items, enemies, and I'll say other, which you can't see, but that's what one of the things I was getting at. Sometimes I have to pare down the words, and just to do this to make it fit on here. So I'll say, instead of the next time, we'll say when the villain suffers damage, they suffer +1 for each clue, then discard all clues on the villain. Okay, even still, that didn't take us down, so let's boom, 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 move it over closer to the edge. I hate doing that myself, but sometimes you gotta. And then bring this up. Let's see, is there any other way we can reword this to, because I don't want to take the font size down. Let me show you that. See, if I take this and I pump the font size down, see, it still doesn't bring anything up, but it makes it real hard to read. And anything under 7.5 font, it's kind of difficult to read, and I don't like that. So this, but I like this. Place the clue on the villain. When the villain suffers damage, they suffer 1 for each clue, then discard all clues on the villain. That can work, because they're marked. We didn't attack them yet. They're just marked for death. All right. You know, I'm going to do this a while. Take that. Grab the... Boom. Change the formatting there quick. But yeah, I really like this idea here. So how do we make it work? How do we make this work? And I know this has a little bit to do with that Hunted from The Beast Within, if you had a chance to play that. So, which is fine, because you're going to have some crossover after 72 different characters, you know? There's going to be some things that are similar. It's just, how do we make this feel like him? Because again, if it doesn't feel like the object we're trying to represent, I will throw it away and not care even a little bit. I'll say if. Does that bring it up any? If the villain suffers damage, they suffer +1 for each of that. And then we'll put a period here. I know, right? Designing is discard all clues on it. Okay. Then, so we have that as best as I can get it for this second. And I do really want all 3, because I don't want you to spend 2 or 3 clues, however many I decide we're going to do. Let's just put it at 2 for now. I don't want you to spend them and then get nothing out of it. I mean, how horrible would that be? You know, you didn't get an item, you didn't get an enemy, you got nothing. That's kind of lame on that one. Okay, even here I would have to say, remove the top card of the location from the game. Then, if the card perform the ability based on the card type. Now again, this is what makes her tough. This is what makes it tough. See, I can't even move this up a little bit to bring it up. But I don't want to bring it up too much, because then, you know, it gets all crunched together. Like, even if I bring this up just to 7, it's still not enough. So how are we going to do this? Okay, it might even be the point where we change marked for death. That's fine. It's just, what do we need to do to make this work? Because I really like the on deadly ground part. Let's see. Place a clue in the villain. If the villain suffers damage, I know I can take this space out, because there's an extra space in here in the blood drop graphic. So I can take that out, I can take that out. But I can't do it for any of the others. Okay. So how can we shorten marked for death? Again, if we got to scrap it, we can't be afraid to scrap it. Just because it's, you know, it's something we like. If it's not going to fit, then we have to be willing to adjust. Hard to kill would be good. Again, I'm not saying these things based on the movies. Executive decision where he dies in the first 2 minutes. Hilarious. Glimmerman would be nice, but I don't see how I could reflect that here other than attack, move. Because that's... God, I'm so sorry that I know these things. Yeah, he slips into the jungle and all you see is a glimmer, and then that's his whole thing there. So that one could be a good where you get a free attack and move. So that one might work. We could call it Glimmerman, and then just do that, where you can get a free attack and a free move. An attack and a move as a free action. We could do it that way. Exit wounds, no. Let's see. All right, we're gonna go to that. We're gonna try that. Again, this is how this process works for me anyway, not for everybody. Not for everybody. But Glimmerman. Okay. So we're gonna take all of that. Let's see. You may because we call it combat here. Perform a combat and or move as a free action. This way it's, you know exactly what it is. Yeah, you see how that... I don't usually do that until later. So yeah, okay. So Glimmerman, you spend a clue. Normally you spend a clue, you can, you know, move or encounter or do something else. But now, because he's the action star, he can do it more efficiently. So he'll get a free combat, so he'll be able to hit something for free, whether it's the villain or... see, but you can already do that for free on the... if they're on top. Okay. You know what we're going to do then? Since you can already attack the ones on top of the deck for free, and if you land on the same spot as a villain, you have to have a single combat round against them anyway. So you can perform a move and encounter, I'll say or, as a free action. Because normally you can spend a clue to move, or you can spend a clue to encounter. He can do both. And if you only want to do one, you can for some reason, but that's what we'll do. You may move and encounter as a free action. Good. Well, let's think on that one. I don't mind it. I think the other one was cooler. But, you know, we have to go by what room we have. I still like this one. Remove top card of location from the game. Then, oops, I can't spell. Based on the card type. Yeah, we gotta figure a way to shorten these things. I'll take that out. Move and encounter as a free action. We still don't have the other in there, but we'll get there. So let's see. As an item. On deadly ground as an item. Since we're destroying it, and if they pull up an item, then... item, they heal. Okay. Remove. Copy. because that could be his cookies. 3 damage. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. That happens sometimes. Okay. Now we take this, click on that, highlight that. Okay. Then I'm going to take this, I'm just going to copy it. Then if you remove an enemy, then the villain suffers 3 damage. Because you are spending 2 clues to do this. And you're getting rid of a card from the game, because that's a big cost. You know what I mean? So we have to do that, and then other will... What do we want other to do? And then, for the quote, I love the out of cookies. I was going to do I snatch every MRFer's birthday, but I like that better. Alright, so let's take this. Boom, pump it up a little. Take that. All the way down to 6. And then we have room for other, which I am going to bring up just a little to keep it off the bottom. So for other, let's see. Remove 3. The villain suffers 3. Or, what would be the other? What would an action star do when they're not doing their main things? I got it. I got it. Attach an item. Come on, you can do it. That was removed from the game. And yeah, I know. We got that. That's part of this, but that's part of this. 6. Okay, so we're already up there pretty high. That's not gonna matter. I knew it wouldn't. If I bring it up just a little, do you think that's too much? And if I drop that down just a hair, we can still get that on there. And again, that's how this goes sometimes. So we have Glimmerman, move and encounter as a free action. So you get to move and you get to encounter the location that you get to as a free action. Good. On deadly ground, remove the top card of the location. So you're saying the location, the ground, is what's causing this. Okay. Based on the card type, if it's an item, remove 3 damage from yourself. So in other words, you heal 3. Okay. Then, if it's an enemy, the villain takes the damage. So you harm the villain by taking away some of his minions, some of the lower henchman people, as if you were in the action movie. And then if it's any other card, I don't care what it is, you can attach an item that was removed from the game. Again, these are all going to be tested and play tested and all that happy joy stuff. But, yeah, I think that's all right. I think that's all right. So there we go. It took a half hour, just about. But that is how I go about creating and doing these characters. Now, the next one I have left is the self-aware. It's going to be a tough one, I'm not going to lie. But, should be all right. And again, remember, keep your numbers consistent. Make sure it is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. There it is. And then we just come up with abilities that 72 other characters don't have. And try to make it fun and interesting. Try to make it fit the theme of whoever the person is. Like, what embodies that character? And that's all I do, man. That's it. It ain't rocket science. I hope you had fun. Any questions, let me know. But if you want to see more of this, we'll do more in, for the locations. We'll do more for the villains and for the anything else you want to do it for. I don't think I'm going to do any more weather deck stuff, but all right. Thanks again for stopping in. Have fun. We'll see you.